How's it going? And welcome to episode 51 of the Casual Gamecast, a weekly video game podcast for the everyday gamer, brought to you by the team at Casual Game Content. I'm Phil Kyo.
I'm Shane Bowe.
And you may have noticed if you're looking at it in the video feed, and you will notice pretty soon if you're in here on the audio feed, we are joined by the one, the only, both of the ALLCAST gamers. Hey guys, how's it going?
Yo, that's us.
I love being mentioned. How are you guys?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, top form. Yeah, delighted to be here. And yeah, we're fresh off doing our own podcast, so yeah, we're ready to go.
Thanks for having us. We don't get asked to do anything. We're always asking everyone else.
Hey, well, it's nice to give and it's nice to receive.
This is
That's
true.
what she said.
That is what she said. Moving swiftly on.
Lads, we never get asked either. So,
if you have never been here before, welcome, my friends, because you have stumbled across what is by far the most casual of gaming podcasts on the interwebs, a casual gamecast, if you will. And if you have been here before, welcome back, because we've got a great show for you. We're going to chat it up with the ALLCAST guys and ourselves to tell you what we've been up to for the week, what we've been doing in general. Maybe learn some tips from the guys. They've been at a hell of a lot longer than we have. And after that, we're going to check in, see what we've been doing, see what we've been playing, what we've been watching perhaps, before taking a quick break to remind you guys of our socials, then jumping into the news that we gave a crap about this week, followed by our question of the week, which this week comes from the Casual Game community over on Facebook. Do pop by, links in the description below, where Kerry Louise Corrigan, friend of the show actually, Kerry asks the question, what was the first game you remember rage quitting? And if you want to know what all of our answers are to that, you got to stick around to the end. Or maybe just scrub forward to the end. It's if you're really that, desperate to know. But before we do any of that, lads, I have to know, how the hell are we? Shane, I've asked you like 51 times now at this point. I'm going to move on to the lads first, if that's okay. Lads, how are we? Petzo, Minion, how are we?
Well, yeah, getting really excited for a lot of the stuff coming out that was announced recently, like Dead Space. I've gotten back into playing Dead Space.
Nice.
And,
Can't get them off the game.
It's such a good game, and it might be like, 10, 12, 13 years old, but it still holds up. And
it does.
it's such a nostalgia blast playing a game like that, taking you back to when you first played it. So I'm really excited to see what they do with it, and hope they just give it a nice gloss over and not change too much of the core game.
What are you playing that on? Are you playing it on the original or on Xbox or PC?
I couldn't find my PS4 copy of it, so I actually had to download it on Xbox.
Sound like that's a downgrade. Yeah, I had to go get it on my
Dirty Xbox.
Yeah, it was PlayStation for life. But I had to join the peasants and use the Xbox, and it was on Game Pass, so that was handy. So I just downloaded it.
All three of them. So I'm going to play through this one, then 2, then maybe 3.
We're going to get to what we've been playing in a moment, and I'm going to grill you on your experience with Dead Space, because you're looking at a big Dead Space fan here myself.
Oh, good.
Petzo, what about you, my friend?
Man, I've been good. God, what have I been doing? In real life, we've been getting the bathroom done, and we've had nothing but a nightmare. I could do a whole. I could open my brand new podcast on how not to build a bathroom.
Is there more of a Pandora's box sentence when you're talking about house building than we're getting the bathroom done?
Yeah, but you know what makes it harder? If you hire a tiler and an electrician and like a builder and a plumber, they all talk about each other if they've never worked together. And then that delays everything, because they're like, oh, I'm not going to touch this because this guy did this. And it's a whole different kettle of fish trying to get anything done. It's an absolute disaster. So we're actually showerless at the moment because the tiler wouldn't tile a wall because he said the wall was shaped like a banana. So what can you do?
Well, I can imagine that would hold up a tiler, but I'm impressed at how close Minion is choosing to sit next to you then, like.
Yeah, he's used to the smell.
Yeah. I like that musk through the day.
We've slept in many a hotel together doing all the events and stuff like that.
And actually, to anybody who may not be familiar, the two guys obviously are from ALLCAST Irish Gamers, and you can find them, of course, on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll get the guys to shout out all of those, and we'll have all the descriptions in the link below, or the links in the description below, Phil. But one of the most striking things about your persona is clearly the suits. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the suits and how the suits came about? Because Shane, I don't know if you're familiar, but these guys, they like to get all fancy when they go out in the real world.
So I wasn't a whole lot familiar until like a couple of days ago. I got a text off Phil in our group chat going like, so we might be having these guys on the podcast, and here's like a link to their Facebook. And now I am familiar, and I've seen the pictures with the suits, and I was curious, and I was going to ask, but Phil bet me to it, so I want to know about the suits as well.
So, God, when I was a lot younger, like I'm 36 now, so I'm a lot older. But when I was younger, I used to go to Electric Picnic every year, and I think I went to 10 of them all together. And halfway through that, I decided to wear different coloured suits to the event, to Electric Picnic.
Sure.
And then when I started doing game development, we decided we opened up the YouTube channel and we started making videos, and we were playing Rust a lot.
And true, it was also the charity live stream. We thought we might as well throw something on real quick to look a bit flashier if we're going to stream for 48 hours.
Exactly, yeah. So we were playing Rust. We were building a little bit of a following. We decided to do a charity live stream. And we said we dress up in these suits. Now, what's funny is all the suits fit me at one stage in my life, and now now none of them fit me anymore. Yeah, and now the lads wear them, and
that's good because the red one didn't fit me either.
Yeah, the sleeves used to hang on
me.
He used to look like Annie.
Yeah. Fingertips coming out of the sleeve. Like.
But yeah, we went down to Insomnia in Kerry, and we said, look, let's just wear the suits down. We'll have a bit of a crack, a bit of a laugh with it. And we ended up doing that. And I had gone into video production at that time, so now I was big into making videos, and I wanted to record the event and make a highlight reel.
Sure.
And if I knew what I know now, these people are being paid like $1,000 to turn up and do these videos that I was doing for nothing. So they were happy to have me there and film, and we were in our suits, and people were asking for autographs. They didn't even know who we were. We were like, we had barely 500 subscribers. So I remember Roger had to sign a teddy bear. Yeah, and he had to give it to the mom and say, oh, I don't want to ruin that teddy bear with my signature. I'm nobody like. But then anyway, they invited us to Birmingham to the Insomnia over there. Mignon couldn't go, which is me and Roger went to that one. And then when we got back, we got to do Dublin Comic Con, Players Expo, Gamer Fest, Insomnia Dublin. Everyone just started getting in touch. And now, in fairness, Gamer Fest and Insomnia Dublin were the ones that said we want you to be like on the stage. You are the main guys. Like when people come to the event, they want to see the suits and you. And I think the gimmick of the suits worked then because people do only know us from gaming events.
Exactly, and you get that question, where did you get the suit? No, you get a lot of banter out of
and
people.
We've been in touch with Oppo Suits to get send us a couple. We'll probably flog them at the event.
We'll be ambassadors for you, but they missed out.
Yeah, now we won't even reply to their emails when they send them.
That's pretty high end merch line. Like you go to the merch table at your show. It's like, oh yeah, 3-piece suit, like £600.
They're only €100.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's the markup, you see. It's 5 times the profit.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, sorry, we need to make a profit. Yeah. We need to hire you as our business representative.
We'll talk after the show. We'll talk. But no, seriously, it is interesting, because it's all over your branding and stuff as well. So it's been, it was always kind of like, where did that start? I'm sure there was an interesting thing there. But you brought up something which is very interesting, at least to me, is in the green room ahead of us, starting this podcast, we did talk about, you guys have done a lot of events and a lot of, conventions and stuff like that. And we are very jealous in that way because, we are episode 51. We're 1 week away from doing this for a year. And that has been midway through the worst, 2 years of recorded history, where people can't go out and meet each other and whatever. So it's been a very strange... We don't really care too much about numbers. Don't get me wrong. If you're listening and you have a friend that wants to listen, please do tell them. But we don't really care that much about okay, we want to get out there and, use the tricks of the trade, let's say, to get stuff done. But at the same time, we would love to be able to just go out and meet, like-minded people at a convention or do that kind of thing. That kind of stage presence stuff you were talking about a second ago with the suits. That sounds super fun. I have no shame. I love that type of stuff, So
Look, and you touched base on a very good point there as well. I think one of the great aspects of the events was meeting people from the channel. Or if we did giveaways for tickets, we'd give the person tickets, and when they get to the event, we try and get them up on stage to play computer games. We had, it was 10 people Bomberman at one of the events. And so we had 10 chairs up on stage, everyone playing the OG Battle Royale. Yeah. Is what we were calling it. And it's just great fun. And then obviously at the other events, we'd have Fortnite on the main stage, and there was someone who even got a win on the last game of the day, and it was just fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's really something that I hope you get to experience soon.
Yeah, but like again, you just have to go. Like, unfortunately, it's a fickle game where it does come down to numbers a lot of the time. Which is something our videos of the events got some good numbers for which would look good for an event that was only starting off. So that's why they got in touch with us, because a video with 500 views is better than anything that they can spew out with that's not done by somebody who's done college, not done by you have presenters, you've got cameramen, soundmen, like the three of us all did something together at each point, so they were happy enough to do that. But like
it's a hell of a deal.
And like I think there's another podcast called, I think it's the Pubcast.
Yes.
They do Dublin Comic Con, and I would love to do what they do with Dublin Comic Con. They have the best job, I see, like doing all the cosplay competitions and stuff like that. So like that's what we would love to do. So we're like, I mean, if you are going, you want to be us, we'll gladly swap for them.
Of course. But here's hoping that
I'm gonna write it on my whiteboard. This is my idea board now. I don't know if you've heard this idea. This is crazy idea. I listened to the Scrubs podcast. The Real Doctors, Fake Friends. I love that podcast. And Zach Braff is always going on about his whiteboard, right? So he says to buy a whiteboard and write on it all the ideas or anything you want to achieve. He goes, it doesn't matter how crazy it is, it doesn't matter how mad it is, but put it on the whiteboard. Look at it every single day. And then he starts naming things that he wanted to do, write his own film, direct his own film. And he had all these on the whiteboard before they happened. And I just think that positivity is really, really nice. And whether you get them or not, it's just a good thing.
I'm just going to quickly write Euro Millions on this.
Yeah. It's not a magic whiteboard.
Damn it.
And $1 million will fall from the sky. I actually, funny, I'm looking at a whiteboard myself, but it's all just full of work stuff. Although I need to like make a partition of hopes and dreams in the corner somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, great to have you guys. Shane, now going to give you a hard one to follow. How has your week been, my friend?
My week has not been that exciting. I got my second government mandated 5G injection.
Yeah. So, Your reception is through the roof.
Oh yeah, I'm like 5G plus now.
It's
like
I can 4K camera
there. But I felt like shit for like 2 days. I'm one of the unlucky ones that got the bad reaction, and it just felt like I had the flu for like 2 days. So this happened Monday. We record on a Thursday, so nothing has happened to me except I lay in bed, like consuming fluids and just watching crap TV to make myself feel better.
I got mine in March because I'm being treated for diabetes at the moment. So I went in with all the over 70s. So it's the only person.
Move, bitch.
I was the only person that could walk themselves through the door. But I remember I was very sick. I was sick a couple of days afterwards as well. I remember that.
Yeah, I think you were a bit sore.
You just feel kind of run down, not quite sick. Like you just can't do anything. And your arm, Jesus, your arm feels like someone gave you a
Apparently the booster shot, they just hit you with a hammer.
Yeah.
Bang.
Well, we don't want to miss out on the experience.
Shout out to my Vaccinator, or whatever you call those people. That sounds like a Terminator.
I like the way the audio listeners will be missing out on the gang signs you were throwing. Like, shout out to my Vaccinator.
But it's funny you should say that though. The guy that vaccinated me looked like the Terminator. He had blonde hair, blue eyes. He looked like the perfect human.
The Vaccinator.
And, you know what I mean? And he had big man muscles. He was like this.
I'm going to jab you up.
There was no doubt that fluid was getting in your arm,
Pow!
But Shane, I'm dying to know, Shane. What could your vaccinator have done that was, so noteworthy?
I went in and he was a pretty young dude. I'd say like mid-20s maybe. And I went in and sat down and he was very friendly and stuff. And just as I was sitting down in the chair, he looks at me and he goes, "What did the duvet say when it fell off the bed?"
What did the duvet say when it fell off the bed?
"Oh, sheet." And then I was just like I'm okay. I'm not afraid of needles. I don't mind getting injections or anything. But like I know what he was getting at. He was trying to relax me and stuff. And I was like, "You're all right, my man. I am completely. If I was ever going to be more relaxed getting an injection, now is the time because of your terrible dad humor." So shout out to that guy.
That's what you would have said, but you had a lollipop in your mouth at the time.
It'd be bad if that relaxed you so much. You were like, "Oh yeah, so how long are you working here?" And he was like, "I don't."
Work here? Back in my day, we used to just get like a sugar cube for getting a vax.
Oh, remember then? Yeah, we used to give blood for them as well, didn't it?
Was it?
Or a biscuit or something.
I know when I was in school, like primary school, they jab you and then you get a sugar cube. Like, yeah, delighted.
Jesus, no.
Yeah, you get the biscuits for giving blood. When you give blood, you have to wait for like 10 to 15 minutes. They give you biscuits and potatoes and like Fanta orange and stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
Come back an empty balloon.
And it's funny you bring up blood then, because I was in my vaccination and it was the first time I'm living in Cork now for just going on 10 years. So I'm 33 now, so it was my mid-20s when I moved here. And I used to give blood all the time because me and my mom have like an incredibly rare blood type. So like if I get hit by a bus in the morning, it's probably my own blood I get, you know what I mean? And vice versa, if my mom does, touch wood. But if I'm not giving blood and people with the same blood type don't, it's kind of, it's a terrible thing to happen. So for the last 10 years, it's been on the back burner to go like, I must find where I give blood here, and I just haven't gotten around to it. And I was asking my vaccinator then, out of interest, where do you give blood here? And she's like, what do you mean? Like in Cork, like where do you go for blood? And she's like, here's a number. And she slid me a number over the table. And I kind of looked at her and she looked at me, and it was kind of a dodgy situation. I was like, oh my God, am I going to wake up without kidneys if I ring this number?
You meet Dave down the back alley.
He'll give you all the blood you need, no problem. Good rates.
That's it.
He buys it as well. He buys and sells blood. He's your local friendly neighborhood blood dealer.
Oh, it was like a 60-year-old woman, but I can only imagine. I left my cubicle and she was just like, I've got another one for you. He's gone his way. But
no needles. They just beat you with a stick. Just
Quit getting out of the old fashioned way.
But anyway, that's all of our vaccination stories covered, I assume. So I'm just going to tell you my week very quickly. It was really boring. Moving on. So, guys, it's at this point of the podcast where we generally chill out and we just ask each other what exactly have we been playing. And if we have time, we may ask each other what we've been watching, what we've been reading, whatever it is. But we always start off with gaming because that's what this damn podcast is about. So, lads, have to ask you, what have you been playing? And I'm going to start with Mignon there because he started us off earlier on with his speaking of Dead Space.
Yeah, I was flat out on it last night after the podcast, and it's just such a good game. Like I'm about halfway, just gone the halfway point in the game, and it just really takes me back to like how brilliant it was. It's an iconic game. It's not for what the action or the storyline, but for the little suspensey, atmospheric parts that don't really have an overpinning. Like there's a part where I was about to go through a doorway, and with the light shining on the back of your character, you can see the doorway you just walk through.
Yes.
And something just runs past it. And it doesn't come after you. It's gone if you go over and try to see what it was. And these things are crawling around in the air and above you, but they don't actually attack you and stuff. And it's just the little scares that you forget about that just kind of come back to you. Because I usually I'm like a rock playing horror games generally, but Dead Space still gets me sometimes. You know there's something coming up, it's around the corner, and yet it still bloody gets you, and that's why it's one of my favorite games of all time.
The developers forgot about all that stuff, and when they made the third one,
all that was out the door. It's got a big budget.
Did they forget, or were they just told with gun to head and sell microtransactions? We don't care about atmosphere.
Everybody smile.
Everything's fine.
That's essentially what happened. Like EA pressed Visceral Games to make it more commercial, do the co-op mode, multiplayer, microtransactions, all that stuff, and it essentially killed the game and the franchise in steps. And I must get back to watching the anime. I only watched that once, but I remember it being really good. It's like what happened just before you get to the Ishimura, and that's really fantastic. I'm gonna have to give that a watch now that I've got Dead Space fever again.
Dead Space fever. I remember the anime, and I remember the story around Dead Space, the whole conceit about that statue, the kind of helix statue thingy, and the aliens and whatnot, or maybe it's a magic god. I can't remember. It's been so long, but I remember that being the kind of bit where it was like, you're really leaning into this, aren't you? Like, they really went to town on that as the games went on. But
the
to your
zombie
point,
moons or whatever.
Yes, exactly. And like to your point around the first game with the atmosphere, like it's funny when you think back on it, because I remember so many magazines at the time, back when I used to buy gaming magazines, were talking about Dead Space and the development of it and how it was going to be interesting, because the atmosphere was the lead character and Isaac was just there, you know.
Yeah.
And especially, you know, the way you're playing it yourself, but for anyone listening or watching, you know how Isaac's health meter is just there. It's not like somewhere on the screen. Everything's done within the game, and there's no menus or what have you. I think apart from like one loading screen, maybe on a train, it's like pretty much one camera shot the whole time.
Yeah, they're
Before
planning to
God of
get
War.
rid of that. They're planning to incorporate that sort of God of War type thing where there'd be no load screen, so the whole game would be seamless.
Yeah, and it was close. It was close even back then. Like,
yeah, for its day, yeah. No, it's a super game, and I definitely recommend anyone who likes horror games. If you like the movie Event Horizon, you know, I think it's very reminiscent of The Thing as well. So there's a lot of like John Carpenter-esque stuff in it. And
very much.
It's very good. Even the music sometimes, and
there's nothing out there like it. They didn't even.
It's hard to say.
They didn't even go back, and no one else has done a sci-fi horror like Dead Space, which is kind of odd. It's the same with Silent Hill. No one's gone back, but like Resident Evil, Silent Hill.
The original devs are actually coming out with the Callisto project.
That's right, Callisto Protocol.
Yeah. Protocol, sorry. So that sounds very interesting. It's going to be a spiritual successor to Dead Space.
And it's set in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Yeah, same universe.
Same universe. Yeah. They're picking up the bill, so they said you got to put it in our universe, and they said okay.
Let's do
it. and it's just going to be, and there's PlayerUnknown's, and let's go. A very brief mention.
Yeah. There's a frying pan you get to be aliens with. You know, that's the height of it. God. You know,
probably.
But yeah, awesome game, and I really hope that they give it the love that it so desperately deserves. I really hope that this is just the start of a new franchise for Dead Space. And one thing before we leave, a quick question for the room is, like, for Dead Space, they're remaking that first one, you know, and they're going to take liberties with it or whatever, but for the most part it's a remake. Yeah. What do we want? Do we want them then to do, you know, a Resident Evil remake situation where it's like, oh, we're going to do 1, then we're going to do 2, then we're going to do 3? Or do we want them to redo 1 and then just kind of go with it? Just kind of see where it takes them rather than sticking stringently to 2 and 3?
Personally, I really liked number 2, and especially a lot of the game mechanics from number 2.
2 is good.
How the Zero G was done was a lot different. You didn't just point and jump where you wanted to go this time. Like the little jets. They kind of balanced you out and stuff. That you could pick up the claws off the bodies and fire them and stick lads to walls. The javelin gun was a great idea, and like the breakable windows, so you had to shoot the pad to stop the thing coming down before you get stuck there. If they incorporate all those mechanics into the original, I'd be happy.
Yeah,
because playing it now, you can pick the bones out of it. It is very sluggish. There's parts in it where like you're trying to stomp something and he just won't stomp it even though you're standing on it. And I think a lot of that clunkiness adds to the whole survival horror aspect of it, you know.
It does.
But I would like to see those tweaks from part 2 come in. And you know, maybe part 2 as well, but they should definitely redo 3. 3 just stank.
I think they should remake 1 and 2, and then I'd like to see the third one as a completely new story. Whether with Isaac or someone else.
Same game setup where you could have that free range travel. Because I missed that. You know, that was the one good aspect of Dead Space 3, being able to travel around.
It reminds me of Alien and Aliens and then Alien 3, because Alien 1 is like this claustrophobic. You know, it's only a small crew. And Aliens is like a little bit bigger. We got now troops and stuff involved. We were talking about this last night. That's why it's fresh on my mind. And they have a base. And then in the third one, they try and go back to claustrophobic, and it doesn't work. You can't go too big too soon.
Well, that was the problem with Dead Space. They tried to go all Hollywood, and it was always about big boss fights and more ammo. You never run out of ammo in that game.
That's why I didn't like about the new Resident Evil either. Is all the bosses are massive. Like they don't feel like, doesn't feel like you start off with a small boss and gradually get harder. They start off with a massive big dragon. You're like, how does it get harder than that?
That's going balls in too
true,
quickly.
Actually, when you think about it, yeah. I guess like with Dark Souls, Shane, you're the Dark Souls guy or whatever. Like, but like it's probably like, well, you probably played the other 3 or 4 at this point. Is kind of the vibe you got walking into that one, isn't it?
Yeah, true. To answer your question about Dead Space, I'd be happy with just 1 and 2, and if 3 could just be stricken from the record, and if they never remake 3, I don't care. But it's not a bad shout that if they were going to just do a whole new 3, maybe just like, you know, just scratch out 3, and here's 3 reboot or remake or redo.
They
or
could have
something.
easily ended it after 2. I mean, if you think about it, at the end, Isaac's getting away with Ellie. You know, it was kind of wrapped up there, so they didn't really need to do part 3.
I'd love a number. So if they remade 1 and 2, right, and it was Isaac's story from 1 and 2, and then the third one, it scratched the original third one, and the third one went to a different ship, and the whole thing happening on that ship, but we get to see it from like the beginning, and rather than kind of halfway through, as Isaac says it. But then that ship ending up where Isaac is, and then your player meeting up with Isaac at the end of number 2, and having that nice big blend of like the first 2 games, the third game joins in. And it opens it for a 4th where you can get bigger.
Or on the Colony. I know there was a game on the Wii.
Are we writing any of this down, guys?
Where you play as like, you know, someone on the Colony before all the shit happened on Ishimura. So, like, yeah, there is a lot of wiggle room there.
I'd think a little bit of an origin story, but not a prequel. One that blends nicely into the end of
when they actually pull the bloody marker out of the ground on the.
Because there could be more markers. I think there is a hint that there's more than one marker. There's other planets. And stuff as well. So they could easily put that in. Another ship ends up in the same place as Isaac is. It's a great story, and it's that we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It's up there with Silent Hill, and it's up there with Resident Evil. It's one of the best gaming franchises.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. In terms of like survival horror, like it is, it's probably like one of the best. Like especially that first game. Like second game, like you said, it's like Alien to Aliens. Like they're fantastic, but both for different reasons. But like that first game, man, like the clunkiness, the stomp you mentioned there, Minion. Like they have to keep that. They have to keep that feeling the same.
It's just the sense of loneliness and foreboding as you're going through the level, and then your radio goes off and you shit your pants and have to go change your underwear before you keep screaming. You know, and it's just a fantastic game. Everything about it,
for sure. But Petzo, you're not getting away so lightly, my friend.
Are we allowed curse on the podcast?
Well, here's the thing, and people who have been listening, eagle-eyed or eagle-eared listeners will have noticed that we didn't used to. We try to keep it as minimum as we can, but what we used to do was anytime we had like a slip of the tongue, which happens, we used to bring in like Mario Paint sounds and just like, nice. You know, it'd be like a dog bark or whatever over. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then it became a thing of like, right, well, now we have to proof every episode to make sure we catch them. And it became this whole thing. So we just kind of put, hey, I don't think too many 5-year-olds are listening anyway. So let's just try not to be every second word and we're good.
Exactly. You know, don't do your Richard Pryor stand-up impressions. Don't start quoting Eddie Murphy Raw. Just get on with the podcast.
We'll do a separate recording.
We'll save that for the green room.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Petzo, have you been playing anything this week?
Right. So I have to tell you, I play really boring games.
Okay.
Right. So everybody else plays like your Dead Space, the Fortnite's massive, all these CS:GO and all that stuff, Apex and all that. I play management games like Team Hospital and you know, Transport Tycoon, Warhammer. You know, I play all these
games. Simulator.
It was that Jurassic Park one that you really
hated that Jurassic Park one. But I'd play all them. So at the moment, I'm back in playing Total War Warhammer. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's like Civilization, but you play all the battles. So if I make a pack of orcs, they're going to be in the battle with me, and you can make massive big armies. It's very, I think, one of my favorite.
Very strategic. Yeah. It's one of the most strategic real-time strategy games I've ever seen.
One of my favorite RTS games of all time is the Battle of Middle Earth, and it's just, and this reminds me of that because it's so like just planning your battle, like depending on what troops you're against and stuff like that. Like it's kind of like paper, scissors, rocks. Horsemen defeat archers, archers defeat spearmen, spearmen defeat horses, swordsmen kill spearmen, and it's that kind of mix and trying to move them around mid-battle to try and get the best effects out of them. Plus you've heroes and magic spells and stuff like that as well. So at the moment, there's a lot. There's like, they have like 50 different races in the game at the moment as well, all with their own different units and
abilities and skill trees and stuff, so you can research things and learn things quicker or get more money from it.
It's absolutely huge. If you've ever played Civilization, it's like,
our podcast editor Aaron would be all over this conversation. He's like the strategy guy out of us, and I think he's playing, if he's not playing that, he's playing something very similar to it. But like, I have all the respect in the world for people like yourself that can get into that, because I look at these things and I get into them for like a day and then I just too much. I walk
Yeah,
away
yeah.
and I play my baby games.
I was playing Evil Genius, which is where you make your own evil base.
That looked very interesting.
Number 2 came out. I put that on one Saturday morning. I got up early to do something in the house, and I stuck that on. And instead of doing anything in the house, it was 5 o'clock by the time I got off it. It just, these games just like soak up time.
Timing.
Yeah, completely timing. You don't realize where the time's gone, and you just keep like, oh, I've got to do this next. I've got to do this. It's great for planning and getting used to. I think, like if you have a busy job where you've got loads of different, and you need to prioritize these certain jobs. I think management games are just pretty much that.
Yeah, they are for sure. You almost have to like check your addiction at the door as well, don't you? Like you kind of have to be real with yourself too. It's like, yeah, I've probably had 8 points. Maybe it's about time I step away from the bar. You know, it's like I have that kind of thing with a game sometimes where it's like,
it's one of those.
I did start this at 7 a.m. It is 4 o'clock. I can probably go another hour. Yeah, I can go another hour.
It's exactly like that. And me and one of my friends started playing a campaign mode online. I'd never played it online before. I have 1,000 hours in this game, and I've never played it online. And so we started playing together, and what's great with the online mode is he can give me some of his troops. So he was up against this like huge army. He was not going to win it, and he said, "You take over my archers, and so I can just focus on my men." That's grand. So I flanked them with the archers while he was controlling it, and we actually ended up winning with like hardly anything left. It was kind of like the last battle of Lord of the Rings, you know, when they're outside the gates and the black gates. The black gates, yeah, it's like that. It was nearly like that. It was just brilliant. And we were both like, oh my god, this is deadly online. It's so much better. Because you have to play with the same armies, which is, it's just great. Shouting at each other, why are you doing this? Why aren't you doing this?
Friendships have been forged and broken over these communications, I'm sure.
But that's me. I play a lot of games that people don't play.
I won't. I don't allow myself to play RTS games for the reasons you just said you enjoyed them, are the reasons that I will turn on an RTS game and then I'll emerge from the spare bedroom like a week later dying of starvation, you know, probably with Ebola virus or something, going like, what happened? What year is it? Where am I? Like I can't let myself go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. You know, there's a feature in it, right? It's a minute feature in any RTS game or any strategy game or like simulation colony builder game or anything like that. There's one little feature that absolutely adds hours to your game. Right. And that's being able to rename people. So once you can rename somebody like Petzo, Mignon, Phil, then all of a sudden you're there for
Farquaad.
You're there for another hour. You're like, I don't want Petzo to die. I don't want Petzo to die. And it's all of a sudden it adds.
That's the appeal to a lot of like the action based RTSs, isn't it? Like what's that name? What's the name of that? It's not quite Command and Conquer. Like it's like Aliens.
StarCraft or something, is it?
Something like that. Anyway, but oh god, it's not either. That's gonna bug me. At some point in the podcast, I'll go, oh, I remember what it is. But any game that's strategy based, where you can lose characters and there's permadeath, and you can name them as whatever, that's just instant addiction.
That's another level to it.
It's 100%, and it even if they doesn't like they can't die, you're still like making up stories. It's like, oh, John's not getting on with Jen today because they didn't have breakfast together. They didn't have breakfast.
Classic John.
And you make up these stories, and it might be all in your head, and then when you're streaming them, you're saying them out loud. You know, obviously to keep the stream active and stuff like that. Now that's where I love it. I do come up with some, like I was playing. Remember the videos I did with The Sims? You were probably young when I watched them. But I completely took over a character and then just sort of told you his life story while he was doing his random stuff around the house, and it was just a bit bonkers.
Stream gold.
Yeah, it was just good crack. I don't know what he got up to. I can't remember now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
But Shane, you're not getting away from us, man. What have you been playing?
I have still playing the never-ending game that is Days Gone. Like, that game just doesn't want to end.
I wanted to check in with you on that because I've got similar feelings.
Yeah, it goes on forever. Like, I keep thinking it's like the third Lord of the Rings movie. It keeps like, you know, you think it's ending and then no, but wait, there's more and there's more, and it's
still. Are you on the second map yet? I'm
on like the final third where you meet like the army dudes and the, you know.
Oh, like, it's like the burnt out area.
Yeah, I'm there, like, and I've been there for like hours upon hours now, and I'm like, this game just needs to, like, you know, this could have been two games. Like the second half of that game could have been a sequel to the first game.
It did feel like a sequel. Yeah, you know, you're right. I actually only played that last year. I bought a PlayStation 4 because everyone was telling me the PlayStation exclusives.
The exclusives, man.
Yeah, you have to play the exclusives.
You gotta play them exclusives.
Yeah. It came with Days Gone, and man, I never had so much fun with a game, bar God of War, than Days Gone. And I'm a big like Walking Dead fan and stuff. I'm wearing actually a t-shirt, funny enough. And
you're also a super duper Xbox fan.
Yeah.
You know, never thought I'd see this app play PlayStation 4.
But I loved Days Gone. I know I will agree with you. I thought it was over about 5 or 6 times. I was like, oh, that was a great game, and then it starts up again. It's like, what?
Yeah, I think what it is, you see, is I convinced Shane to play it because I was playing it, and you know, if you get to PS5, it's on that collection of games that you can just play. You know, so I was kind of like, okay, I'll give this a bash. I never got around to it. It was on PS Plus as well, I think, and finally jumped into it, and I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And then I played a second day, and I was like, oh, this is actually better than I thought it would be. And I was coming on the podcast talking to Shane to say, dude, I think Days Gone is one that people have slept on. I think there's something here, man. And the next podcast he came on to tell me he was with me on it, and I was like, okay, here we go. And much like Shane, now I realize obviously Petzl, you're a fan, but much like Shane, I've gotten to a point of like, I don't know if I'm going to finish it. Like, I just don't know. Like, and here's my issue, and here's my reason why. I think the game is actually great at its core. You know, like its gameplay mechanics are sweet. Like, especially as you get out towards the later areas, like all the hordes of zombies and how you deal with them, and you know the different mechanics. They're all fantastic. The writing is just awful though, and I can't get around like.
But that's why I compared it to Walking Dead. Walking Dead's awful. Walking Dead, I feel like a zombie watching it, like, but I love it as well.
I'm watching it at the moment myself. I'm on season 10 right now.
Yeah, I can't like I love it and hate it in the same aspects, and I felt the exact same way for Days Gone, and I enjoyed it just for what it was. I thought the main characters, the two boys, Deacon and what's his name,
Boozer.
Yeah, those two characters are brilliant all the way through it. Like, even though the writing, as you said, is wrong, or not wrong, it's bad. It is bad. The two characters seem to be very like, you do kind of like get to like them quite a lot, and their relationship with each other. His relationship with his girlfriend, that never really grabbed me in any sense, but it just gave me a reason to keep going.
That right there, okay. So like the not to spoil for anybody who's listening that may or may not have played it yet, but the whole relationship with the girlfriend thing. You're building up for this big payoff. The big payoff comes up, and it's as if it didn't happen. And I was just like, what the hell? And the one thing that's annoying me now as I go back to play, because I played it for an hour or two every so often, is when I start a new mission, it's like, drive from here to off over there. Cool, do your thing. My thing that I do over there takes less time than to drive over, and then I have to drive back. You know, and it's just like, I'm just doing a lot of like, okay, here we go.
Fetch quest.
Fill up the tank. You know?
My favorite thing I ever did in that game was I ran out of fuel, and I kind of wanted to sort of play it out, so I had to go find fuel on foot, and I went off to a building nearby, and I was rummaging through, and then I found a canister it was like a barn. And as I walked out the front door, there was a whole herd of zombies walking right by the door. And I quickly went back and hid behind the wall like that. And I was like, how are they not seeing me? And a whole lot of them just walked right by the door. And I was like, this is the best game I've ever played. I was like, holy
fantastic.
crap.
There's some great moments like that in the game. I'd agree that the writing's not great. I do like Deacon a little bit. Sometimes he's a bit like, you know, there's that whole thing. There's that whole mission where he goes back to the church where he got married, and there's some dudes squatting in the church, and like, this is a zombie apocalypse. People are just trying to survive, find a bit of shelter, but he's like, not in the church I got married. I'm going to go murder all your faces off because you're in my church that you didn't know that I got married in. And he just kills everyone and burns the church to the ground.
Yeah.
And like,
he does.
Dude,
no one's going to take over here.
It's a hard one to defend.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you need to chill. One thing I do like about Deacon is when he's out in the world, because I feel like I'd be like this in the zombie apocalypse, when he's out doing stuff, he talks to himself.
Yes.
You notice he's like, oh yeah, rags, they'll make Molotovs, that'll be great, I'll use them. And like, I find I'd probably end up being that person out in like the wilderness if I'm out there alone trying to survive against zombies. You would just talk to yourself, you know, just keep saying
that garbage does smell nice. I agree.
I have one bullet left, I should use it.
I thought last week when we chatted about it, I thought that by this episode I'd be finished it.
Me too.
And I'm still not. So maybe by episode 52 I'll be finished and can talk about it more then. But right, I'm still enjoying it though. I am, and it still keeps giving me more new stuff to keep me going.
Another thing to add to the list of payoffs for the 52 episode spectacular.
Woo!
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go now.
But that's it. Hopefully we'll get to the end of that together, Shane. We'll get through there together. We'll hold our hands and we'll get through.
Wait to get to the third map, Shane.
Jesus.
It's when you get to the
Don't
sixth
even
map
joke
it
about it,
really
man.
opens up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it really opens up there.
As for me, I was wanting to play some Days Gone and I just couldn't get around to it this week. I just didn't have the time really. So I've been kind of just diving into little bits and bobs. Played a little bit of I don't know why. I played like an hour or two of The Last of Us Part 2 again. I just wanted to see how it ran on the PS5, and then I kind of got sucked in, and I got to like the point, where somebody important dies, as we all know. And I was kind of going, wow, this game really started off strong, and then it kind of loses its way a bit as it goes. But wow, those first 2 hours are really impactful.
I've watched that's one of the games I won't sit and play. I tried to play the first one, but this is going to be so controversial. I really didn't like the first game, and I felt like the story was really good, like the opposite to Days Gone. The story was good. The gameplay was so boring. It was literally fight some men, fight some zombies, fight some men, fight some zombies, and then in between we'll dab some storyline in it. I don't get what the hype is about that. I thought it was really poor. And when the second one came
you're in
out,
good company. We've talked about this a good couple of times here. Now, I do really like The Last of Us, like, don't get me wrong, but I'm not afraid to like cut it at the knees where it needs it as well. Like to say
I
that,
think
like,
everybody
Naughty
overhyped
Dog
that.
in particular just have that problem. Like Uncharted is no different.
Yeah, exactly. I just felt like the second one I didn't play at all, but I watched a streamer called Maximilian, just like fighting games and stuff like that.
Sure.
And Angry Joe, and they were both playing through at the same time. So I feel like I've seen the whole game between those two streams.
So there's no need to play it.
So
now.
there's no. I've seen all the story, and the only new feature seemed to be she could crawl now. So I was like, so they didn't update anything.
Can't you
I
jump
think if you know the story, there's very little reason to go back. I think.
Yeah. So I don't get the hype there. I'm hoping the TV show's good though, because I watched that. I like it.
Yeah, I like
Pascal.
that's Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal, I like him.
That does look like it's going to be good. Some of the set photos were turning up recently and going, oh yeah, they're getting it. They're getting it.
Yeah.
Every time I have a conversation with someone about The Last of Us, whether it be one or two, the conversation is never about the gameplay.
Yeah,
that's not what you remember about that game, because it's not great. Like, me and Phil are both proponents of, it's fine. It's like it just gets you through. It's intermissions in the story. Otherwise, it would just be an animated movie.
Yes,
and it's the story that everyone talks about. Nobody talks about the gameplay. I rarely speak about the gameplay in Last of Us.
Well, if they had made The Last of Us 3 was just Days Gone 2, right? Like the Last of Us story with the Days Gone world and like how you move around the world and everything else, you're talking about like a 10 out of 10 game. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Days Gone has it gameplay wise. Days Gone is brutal. It's action packed. There's tons of stuff to actually learn to do in the game, and then it's not just stages you're going through. It's like literal open worlds. You can approach anything any way you want, but then you're so limited in Last of Us.
Yeah, there's only one way to go really, and you kind of have to stick with it.
God, we tried to stream that killed.
Yeah,
that killed
the vibe.
Well, it will certainly kill the vibe, because like we did a game of the year countdown at Christmas last year, and we had all just pretty much played through that at the time, and I remember saying like I'm really begrudgingly giving The Last of Us my number one spot for that year, because it wasn't because I thought the game was fantastic by any means. In fact, it was kind of the opposite. I kind of hated playing through it towards the end, but it was the sheer sense of dread mixed with the real world stuff we were going through at the moment, and then just the emotions that game made me feel. I don't think any other medium has ever made me feel so, I don't know, like in perpetual dread is the only way I can describe it. It was so bizarre to like go like, wow, this is not something I've ever experienced in a video game sense before, you know?
I felt that in Batman Arkham Asylum. I loved that game. That I was like at the edge of my, when the trailer came out, I must have watched the trailer 100 times when it first came out, and then Arkham Knight with the DLC added onto it for all the extra villains. Unbelievable game. Absolutely
amazing
game.
Amazing.
But yeah, that's why I felt like that when I was like, no, Scarecrow, he stabbed Bruce. He stabbed yeah, but like, yeah, I completely get you. Like, no game has made me cry ever. Like, Roger used to say that Last of Us 1 made him cry.
Yeah.
And I've never felt that way about a computer game. I've never put. I'm also that guy that skips a lot of stuff. Like,
boring.
Yeah.
I mean, like, why can't I get into this story? Skip.
There's a lot to be said for that, though. Like, you know, at the end of the day, if a game really wants to just stand on the merit of its story, then it doesn't really need gameplay at that point. It can just be a movie, you know, like, and vice versa. Like, if a game is all gameplay, then why give me story if you're going to do it half-assed? It's kind of like...
like
Final Fantasy VII, the original, is a great example. A fantastic story, characters, depth. But the graphics look like he's walking around with lampshades on his arm.
But at the time, Minion, at the time,
that was pinnacle stuff. But
they were fantastic.
For people who wanted to go back and play that now, they would be totally disappointed by it, and they wouldn't get into the game as much as we did back then.
We actually did. We're off topic again, but we've completely we've gone across. But we did a show where we had to pick the best Final Fantasy game, and we gave it to number 7 for story. But I think number 10, actually, because the graphics were out of this world and the story was good, but it was more linear. So that's why we gave it to Final Fantasy 7, because it's more open world. Sure. But story-wise, all the Final Fantasy 7s, all of them have been really ridiculously good.
Where did the non-3D Final Fantasies come in that scale?
Only one person picked a non-3D.
Yeah, it was Tactics.
That's a good choice.
But I don't think that was going to go up against the youngest lad on it that came on, Jack. He picked 13. I don't know why I've said this about 100 times. I found it weird because I kept going, why did he pick 13? That's not the best one.
That was out when
he was.
It was his first
7, 8, and 9 weren't out.
Yeah,
yes, that was his Final Fantasy. And then that's something we have to remember as well. These old games that we go, retro games are better than the average game. Lads don't go back and play those games.
Well, like Part 8, I played that recently, and even that holds up. I still love that game. So yeah. For me, I'd play no problem. That's because I'm biased.
What was the original question? We've gone so far abroad.
Last of Us.
The Last of Us.
That wasn't the really original question. We were just chatting about what we're playing.
Final Fantasy 13 is just as good as The Last of Us. Anyway, moving on.
And that's how you tie that up.
Editor, can you edit that out?
No, keep it all in. Keep it on. It's gold, baby. It's gold. But yeah, that's kind of what I touched off of. But what I have been playing is I've jumped back into the streaming world. I took a break from it for quite a while there, just to kind of get back into life. Maybe you guys get this as well. You know, me and Shane, we don't get to talk to many other people that do similar things. You know, you guys obviously do more even than we do. Is that like... we started off as a website. We were doing articles, and then, you know, we were doing podcasts, and then trying to get into video. And, you know, both me and Shane are kind of like perfectionists at heart as well, so like everything has to go through like a million rounds of review before we're happy with like the first one or whatever. And I just hit my mic there. My over active like perfectionist setting just went But like, do you ever get to a point where you've just like added on so many projects onto your week and your month and your year even, that when you're working and when you have a relationship or when you have family and when you have friends, all of a sudden you're just like, holy crap, I do not have like a minute that isn't planned out over the next week. And it's all because of, you know, these things. So, like, I found that I was doing, like, 3 days of streaming a week on top of the podcast, on top of trying to get some stuff done, articles, all this other stuff, and then work, and then what have you. It just burnt me out. But now that we've kind of taken a step back, we've walked away from the website angle of things, I can kind of, like, go, okay, I can certainly put, like, a night towards streaming again, because I quite enjoy it. I like the hangout, you know what I mean? Yeah. So we jumped back in this last Monday. However, it will be Tuesday moving forward at 8 p.m, where, if anybody's listening, of course, come hang out at Casual Game Co. But started doing Grand Theft Auto as a series from like the first one through to London, GTA 2 into GTA 3 and onwards. And it seems like that's serendipitous, because we'll get to it in the news, but GTA is back up in the news again. But I have to say, we did not play the entirety of GTA 1 London and GTA 2, because speaking of retro games, wow, they don't hold up at all. Like, they are super bad.
I was going to say.
Twisted Metal we used to hold in such a high regard, on a pedestal, man. And then we did get a copy of it a while ago, or an emulator, I think. And we were like, how did we play this game?
yeah, it's pretty rough.
You can only drive straight. And I was like, I remember doing 360 spins in the air and everything. And I was like,
it's going,
it's like a tank. It goes,
and this is blocky and glitchy, and the game does not hold water whatsoever.
To your original point about not having free time, I completely agree with you there. In the last 2 years, we've moved into a new house. Mignon had a daughter, and the events scene slowed down for us. So obviously,
I changed job as well.
He changed job as well. So it has been quite busy for us. So like we try and put out content just to stay, like, people know that we're active and we're still here. But at the same time, there's not as much effort put into.
It's very hard to plan a few weeks in advance when you're not even sure what you're doing next week. Yeah,
and it's the shows we used to do, like the newscasts and stuff like that. They used to get like 300-400 views. They were really popular.
But that was a lot of setup. We just don't. We'd love to do it, but we don't have the time to do that setup. Like
there's a balance.
Script, run through it, edit things. Just
like it was a 3-day edit those videos. They're 3 minutes long, and you know what I mean. And you're like, and sometimes you kind of like people like comment, oh, that this is wrong or that's wrong, and it really does kind of put you down. Like you're like, oh, I'm after putting 3 days work into this, and
of course
they don't appreciate it as well, you know, that way. And so sometimes I'm on your side at the moment. I'm feeling burnt out. So like I had a day off a couple of months ago, so I played remember Steam were doing all their demos, and they had like 700 free demos. I spent the whole day streaming demos, so I just half an hour game, boom boom boom, bang them all out. And then I trimmed them all down in Twitch and put them out on YouTube, and it covered me for a whole month to 3 videos a day.
Good idea.
And I was like, they don't have many views. You know, I mean, hardly anybody's watched them, but I just wanted I didn't want the account to go dead. I wanted it to be active and people to know it was still there. But like, I think people appreciate like when you do spend more time on videos, edit them and stuff like that as well. But I completely agree with you, man. Getting burnt out for nothing.
When you do eventually get back into streaming, because I used to do Elder Scrolls streams like twice a week. Like on weekends, just like clockwork. And then obviously when Mia came along, I didn't get to stream as much. And now that I'm back streaming Dead Space, it's great just to chat with people you haven't chatted with in ages. And they come on. Most of the time they're not even coming on to see the game; they're just coming on to chat. And
yes, exactly.
That's something you have to be aware of as well. So
I think getting burnt out I think. As well, we all look like we're over 30, I'm guessing, right?
How very dare you?
So that's a big impact on it as well, because the guys that are putting out good content and like 3 or 4 videos a week, they're lads in 18 to 24, living at home. You know, maybe they have a part-time job or a full-time job, but lots of free time afterwards and stuff like that. Where we've got families, jobs, houses, so much more. So you have to that little hour or two you've got free. You need that for you, and if streaming makes you like chill out and relax, then stream. If editing a video makes you chill out and stream, edit a video. Do the things that make you happy, but don't sit there and go, oh, I need 6 videos for this week, and I've only got a day to do them.
Stress over it.
You're only going to burn yourself out trying to do it.
Exactly.
I think Mr. Beast says as well, get 1 good video out a week rather than 5 poor videos. You know, and put effort into one. And at the moment, I'm trying to like. I like sitting downstairs and watching TV shows. That's why we do the Geeks for Weeks podcast, because me and Lydia sit downstairs talk about movies and TV shows all the time.
Which is great, by the way. If anybody's listening, do check them out.
So that's why we said, look, why don't we just do a podcast? And I said, I'll do it, but I'm not editing it. I don't want to sit there for weeks and edit the sound and the audio. I said, let's stream it, and I'll turn the stream into audio, and then if anything does need fixing up quickly, I'll do it, and then I'll just upload it to ALLCAST and let them deal with it. But like, and then the Herds of Nerds one just came out of, you know what, Geeks for Weeks is really hard to do every week because we don't get time to watch anything, because now you're coming out, I'm like, oh, I have to watch this program because I need to talk about it on my
which is why
so it ruins the program.
That's a very interesting point, because like that's something we've run into ourselves a little bit, is like, I remember at the beginning, Shane, I don't know if you were like this, but like at the beginning I was like putting pressure on myself to like play a lot of games and like finish a lot of games, you know, like I was like telling my partner, I was like, hey, it'd be great to go, hang out or do whatever, but like I said I'd finish this by the next recording, you know. It's just like, but nobody asked me to do that, you know, like that was
exactly
me.
You're putting that pressure on yourself. And that I've done that, man. And the other thing as well that got me down, like when we first started making YouTube videos that were getting good views, was I kept getting sucked into the analytics. had to look at the
you gotta look away.
Yeah, and
look away.
I don't think I've looked at them in about 7 months. Honest to God, I don't even. I see the views when I'm like when I open my PC, the YouTube channel opens up. I see the views, but I don't go into the analytics to see who watched it from start to finish or
what age groups are watching.
But I used to have Excel sheets and to see where it went and how like that. I was getting bogged down with it, and that again. And then I, like you just said, I had to sit there and go, who's asking for my analytics? Me. I'm the only person that's looking at those analytics.
And that's the thing. And like you're saying yourself that, you don't have the same amount of time that you could just like, if your analytics pointed you in a direction that says, yeah, maybe actually the news thing needs to be an extra hour long. Maybe now I have to do like all this extra production and stuff. Like you're not going to get that time to do it. So all you've done at that point is you've stared at numbers that said, oh, the thing I enjoy doing, I shouldn't have done, but at the end of the day, if you enjoy doing something, you should do it. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as you've enjoyed your time, it's time well spent.
Because Roger always used to say something to me. I don't know why it stuck with me, but I think it was at a time where I was kind of obsessing about the channel. He said, when you put out a video or a podcast or anything online, it's like you putting a message into a bottle and throwing it into the sea full of messages in a bottle.
Yeah.
Hoping that your message gets to the beach for someone to listen to. And that
You're
kind of
not
put
wrong.
it in... And put it in perspective. That put it into perspective for me. It's like, yeah, we are throwing out content and hoping people will find it, and then you know what, we'll get jobs out of it and we'll make money and all the rest of it. But I forgot about how much fun
it was
in the beginning. Like when we were doing the charity live streams for fun, not for ourselves or to get followers. Like we were raising money for good charities, and then it was when it was started turning into a business, or when we were getting paid to go to an event or something like that. Then it was like, oh, I better take this more seriously. But like that was actually our downside. We took it too seriously and then lost people.
Yeah.
That happens.
It's a story as old as time. But that's enough for this half of the podcast. Let's take a really quick break, remind people about our beautiful socials before we come back and hit you up with what news we think was anyway interesting this week. And then again, we're going to do the question of the week, which comes from Kerry, which was what again? What was the first game that made you rage quit? There we go. We got it in the end. Right. So with that, here we go. Play that thing. Hey there. If you want to keep up with all things casual game content, you can do so in a number of ways. The easiest way to do so is to follow us on all of our socials at Casual Game Co. Not content because you only get 15 characters, but hey, what can you do? At Casual Game Co. That's at CASUALGAMECO. Can't be any simpler than that on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And when you're at Facebook, look for the group, the Casual Game Community. It's a good bunch. We're going to love you. Come on by. If you could do us a massive favor, like the podcast, review the podcast, and just tell a friend about the podcast. It goes a long way, and you can find all of our content on podcast forums wherever you get your podcasts by searching for Casual Gamecast. Thanks again for all of your help and all of your support. It means the absolute world to us. Now, back to the show. And we are back. Now, lads, I don't know how familiar you are, but what we tend to do at this point in the show is we will generally take our shoes off, get comfy, and look at the newspaper in front of us and see, well, how much of this news do we actually care about? So let's play the thing.
News.
Got my shoe off.
Oh,
You're halfway there. You're halfway there already.
Something down the wall
shoes
space.
That's one for the video watchers. Now that we're in the newsreel, we've got a couple of things. Whether it's one news story, whether it's 0 news stories, whether it's 20 news stories. If there's enough out there for us to talk about, we'll talk about it. And we've got a couple of things to talk about this week. Shane, do you want to kick us off?
I will kick us off indeed. So, as we know, Gamescom is around the corner. It's always in August. Quick aside, I had the luxury of going to one once. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was in Germany or something, was it?
Yeah, it's always in Germany. It's always in Cologne,
okay.
in Germany, and it's in a convention center that's the size of like a small town. It's ridiculous. It's actually 12 convention halls like combined into one. It's insane. But yeah, so it's back this year, and it's also the Future Game Show is coming back, which is like a big 2-hour live stream that kicks off Gamescom. You know, because of COVID and stuff, everything's live, internet, blah, blah, blah. The reason I have it in the news docket is it's going to show off over 40 titles in its 2-hour odd live stream. And also, it's going to be hosted by Resident Evil Village's Lady Dimitrescu and the Duke actors, which is going to be pretty awesome, I think, as well.
That's pretty sweet. I thought you were going to say they were doing like a Tupac Shakur, Michael Jackson thing, where they're going to like, you know, VR them into the atmosphere, you know.
No. I reckon if I had said the actors' names, people would have been like, "Who are you talking about? What happened?"
Step on me, lady, and
now I kind of want to see it as the Duke and the lady, like, and then animated, and then the guys just doing their voices.
Or just get cosplayers in to stand.
Oh, there's going to be so many Lady D's in that crowd. You've no idea.
Count me in.
Yeah. But that sounds pretty cool. I don't know that much about it. Shane, do you know, is there going to be any kind of a crowd situation? As I just said there probably isn't even one.
No, I don't think so, because like Gamescom is actually one of the largest gaming conventions in the world in terms of the public.
Sure.
Like it sees like 270,000 people over 4 days or something ridiculous like that. Whoa. You know, so it's quite big. So I assume there's going to be no in-person events. I assume it'll just be all online. But I just got excited because it's much like we just got with E3. Like, the guy that did the live stream at the start of E3? What's his name? Come on, Phil.
Oh, Jeff Keighley.
Jeff Keighley. Like his like starting opening live stream was the best thing about E3 this year. So I'm hoping that future game show, if it's just like trailer after trailer, game, like just for 2 hours, it's going to be class.
You gotta wonder, like, how many games are left to announce? Like, we had 7 days worth of like announcement trailers not that long ago, and we probably have TGS coming up soon as well, and this is going to give us another 40 games. It's like, did COVID not happen to these developers or something? How are they banging them out?
Or it'll go the other way with it, and you might as well just rename it too. And guess what else is getting a remake?
Yes, this is true.
Possibly.
Well, they're going to tell us games. It's going to be a load of games that are coming out in 2023. You know what I mean?
Of course it is.
It's not going to be anything we see for next year, because I think Arkham Knights got delayed. Horizons got delayed.
Whatever happened to Skull and Bones? That game,
Skull and Bones disappeared.
Yeah, that's been in like development nightmare.
But I think they keep showcasing games that aren't even nearly ready. You know,
I know.
And they're all going to suffer from that Cyberpunk, where they've showed off the game, and then the game
now the pressure's on to deliver
to get it up to that standard.
It's an interesting position to be in, though. If imagine you're a developer, like your bread and butter was always like, look at this cool thing we're doing, and it's going to be delivered roughly this time, and maybe it gets a little bit delayed, but roughly this time. And then COVID kind of came in and moved everything out by about 2 years, and those development studios are still going. They're still paying people. Like, you know, stuff still has to happen, but no game is shipping. You know, like it's I wonder how much of it is like, we need people to remember this exists. We really need it to sell when it goes out.
It could be, you know, it could be dead right there. They have to, like, but like, Jesus, nothing really good to come out this year. I haven't really gone, I must check out that game.
It's been a bit of a non-starter this year.
Well, hopefully
there has been a couple of things, like Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, well, Resident Evil 7 came out, and then I watched 8. Came out, and then I watched a couple of videos.
Sorry, you're right.
I was like, what? They just didn't do it. I thought they were going to keep it like 7. And I think they went too big with it. But look, I said we will still play it eventually.
Yes, definitely.
But I'm looking forward to Far Cry and Battlefield. I think they're the 2 big ones this year.
Battlefield for sure. They've got big boots to fill coming in with that reveal trailer. So,
did you see the animation they released today?
No.
You probably like it. It's just a story animation, but there's no campaign in it, so I don't know what it's about. How it generates into the game.
Yeah,
I don't know, but it's like a little animation.
I was a big fan of Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1, and also not so much number 6 or number 5.
Remember the one on the island? It was like a U-shape.
Yeah, that was the demo,
and that was free.
It was all World War II stuff. That was so good. That was Battlefield 1941.
That was it. Yeah, I was standing next to a guy. We were messing. I was standing next to a guy on my team, and we were like over the comms going, "Look, we'll stick together, and that way we will get more kills." And all you'd see was ping, and a bullet went straight through your man's head. He just dropped, and I'm just sitting there going, "Oh God!" Well,
I've got some good news for you, because those maps are coming back. That Battlefield, what's it called? Portal. the kind of make your own experience aspect of the new Battlefield. They're really pushing for this to be some kind of like live service game never ends type thing, which you know, EA being EA will probably be awful in the long run, but like it sounds like it's going to be super cool. I can't wait to, like, as you said there, now play like 1944 level and be like a whole army of like 1944 troops against like 10 super soldiers from like 2066 or whatever it is. You know, like that's going to be pretty cool.
Happy with that.
The knives versus defibrillators clips look hilarious.
Spitfires versus F1s.
There we go. There we go. But Gamescom, it's going to be interesting. I am looking forward to what happens, but after the last E3, I don't know how much I can watch again. Like, it's that, I don't know, guys, did you watch much of the
Don't
last
you
E3,
have internet?
Jesus.
You know that guy, don't you have phones?
E3 I liked, I think it was the Steam... Was it the Steam show or something like that where they showed just PC games? Mm-hmm. Might have been PC Gamer. I thought they put together a really good show. It had like a weird guy and he was talking to a computer. There was like these kind of dad jokes in between all the clips, and it was actually I actually sat there going, "This is a great show." Like I'm enjoying it. The games they're showing off are fun. Your man is fun. He had a girl showing off ones as well. She had a few gags. And I just like that, but then everybody else was just like, "Here's the trailer, like world exclusive, world exclusive." It's like, I'm tired.
Like
of seeing
there was an awful lot of like, this could have been an email in the last. Like a couple of things were great, like the PC one or Devolver Digital, as always, had this like amazing, like mind-blowingly brilliant little kind of videoette or whatever. But like, I just hope that this Gamescom thing is like, here's the 40 games, like. Xbox's showcase, for example, like that's how you do it in my mind. Is that like, and I know many of you love Xbox, is like, you know, you come on stage, you give a little bit of a spiel, and then it's just like game, goodbye. You know, like that's all you need. That's all you need.
There's no need to put me up. You already have me watching.
Don't give me 4 hours of like 4 people I've never heard of talking about how excited they are about some game that's not going to come for 5 years. You know, like it's nobody needs it.
And I still think they should announce what they're going to show off, so you're not sitting there wasting your time either. You know, that way, like if they're going to show off some Battlefield footage, say like, "Oh yeah, at the end of our presentation we're going to show off some Battlefield footage," so hang around till the end. So at least we know, because sometimes you get to the end, you're like really disappointed.
I stay here for this.
Show off anything.
Exactly.
Just give me a timetable. But like traditionally Gamescom hasn't been big on announcements or new things. It's usually a expansion on E3. It's like, "Oh, here's that CG trailer you've seen it's at E3 for that game that you're like, well, now here's some gameplay at Gamescom." You know, a lot of that happens at Gamescom. It's the odd announcement here and there, some random developer we go, "You know what, screw E3, we're going to announce it at Gamescom instead." But like, for the most part, a lot of those 40 games that they're promising, I don't know if they're going to be new. You know, it might be like, you know, "Oh, here's an extended look at whatever, I don't know, whatever game was announced, Kenya Bridge of Spirits for PlayStation," or, you know, something to that effect. Hopefully there's some new stuff in there, but I can't even fathom what it might be. Like, I just don't know.
Sure. That makes sense. But you know what we probably will see, to Minion's point? More and more remakes. And that, my friend, teases up for our next news point, which is Take-Two are not going to be falling behind in the remakes race, it seems, because in a latest earnings call where they were talking to investors and what have you, they were kind of giving the lowdown of what their future year looks like, and it seems as if they have planned 3 returns to old games in their library. Is that kind of how they put it, Shane?
This was like a slide got leaked from like their earnings presentation, like literally like a PowerPoint slide. And one of them was like, you know, upcoming projects or whatever. And it was 6 new iterations of previously released titles was the exact phrasing.
6 or 3?
It's a nice way of saying remakes.
6.
Wow.
6 new iterations of previously released games. But there's the reason the title of this article is about Grand Theft Auto, because that was also a separate rumor, is that we were getting 3 GTA remakes as well.
Sure. Yeah, because I saw that PowerPoint slide that was going around, and it looked super easy to like mock up yourself and just put that up on Reddit and have people go nuts.
Of course. I think it's 6 total, including the GTAs. I think this whole 6 new iterations is adding fuel to the GTA rumors.
Gotcha.
They're going to make Army of 2. They're going to remake Army of 2. That's what they're going to do.
That's probably I'll put
€10 on it now.
Did Take-Two own that, or Rockstar, or whoever?
I think Take-Two made Army 2. I might be wrong.
Wow.
But
I
I'm
thought
nearly
Army
sure
2
they
was
did.
EA. I really thought that was an EA published game.
It could have been.
It might. I
I
don't know.
don't want to
honestly
type
don't know.
because you'll hear my clicking and I'll
Don't worry.
We'll fact check that later.
I'm
Yeah,
nearly
yeah,
sure
yeah.
they did that.
Aaron, put in whoever developed it here, please. The
I'll do a sad
Yeah.
face because I'm probably wrong.
I wonder what else it could do, because like this is an opportunity for Rockstar realistically to kind of do what everybody's saying, where people want remakes or remasters of their classic catalog. So
Yeah.
3, Vice City, San Andreas, but also like Bully. The list goes
That's
on.
a good shout. Bully was very good. I still have a copy of that on PlayStation 2 in the house somewhere.
But San
Red Dead
Andreas,
Redemption. Like
Sa-
all these games
Yeah.
could use like a little bit of a touch.
the
of
first
polish.
Red
Red Dead Revolver.
Red Dead Revolver needs a remake. That was brilliant. That was a great game.
Was that one a Rockstar one? Because didn't Rockstar kind of come in like halfway through that series or something? There was some weird thing there, wasn't there, where that started
I
off
don't
as
know.
somebody else's project or
Could be
something?
right there.
Yeah.
That game, man, has. Have you ever seen the film Quick and the Dead?
Yes.
It's one of the best Western films ever made, and it's well, not Hugh Jackman. What's the other guy?
Oh, another
He
guy.
plays Lex Luthor.
Yeah. Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman is the villain in that, and he's fantastic. Leonardo DiCaprio's in it. Nicole Kidman's in it.
No,
Sure.
Sharon Stone.
Sharon Stone. Correct.
Kurt Russell.
That's why we teamed up.
Oh no, Kurt.
Yeah, I know.
Not Kurt Russell.
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe's in it. But anyway, that whole film is compacted into a small segment in Red Dead Revolver, where you go to a town and they're about to have this shootout, and it's plays out the exact same way as the film does, and you join in, and all the characters are there. Ace is there. That's the guy that wears all leather. He's actually from Aliens.
That's the guy who plays Bishop.
Bishop from Aliens, and he's in it. They're all in it, and the story plays out the exact same way as the film. How they got away with it, I have no idea. It's right bang in the middle of the game, and it's just
that was Warner Brothers or something.
yeah.
Like that, so.
And you had to use the analog to put your hand down and pull the gun out.
Go away.
He said it was all manual. It was, and then obviously they kept it in Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
What's the second Red Dead? No, Jesus.
Revolver was the one you were talking about, I think, was it?
What's the second?
Yeah.
What's the other one?
And
Red
then
Dead
Redemption. And then
Yeah,
Redemption 2.
then Redemption 2. Yeah, so and they kept all the mechanics in it, man. That's a great game, man. That'd be one. I guarantee if I went back to play it, I'd be like, oh, this is awful.
And fans,
Yeah,
fans of
those
these
games
games
are rough to go back to.
have been crying out for remakes for ages.
That
I
is-
mean, like, there's a lot of people. Once, I think this will open the floodgates is the remake to Resident Evil 2 and how well that game was received and how well that game did.
Wrecked it with 3.
And yeah, true. That was a bit of a cash grab. But I think that opened the door for a lot of companies looking back, going, we've a lot of titles in the press.
That's why you're
Let's
getting
see."
your Dead Space.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Give me Rockstar Table Tennis Championship remake this instant.
Boom!
Money.
Confirmed.
But do you not think, right, at this stage of development of Grand Theft Auto at the moment, right, they have like a huge map, the graphics and all that are there. They've updated the multiplayer billions of times over the last 6 years. Could they not have recorded all the actors, like new actors for San Andreas, and then just put it into that map as DLC, like 50 quid DLC, 60 quid DLC?
Yeah, like that's the point of contention with me, is that like I'm a huge Grand Theft Auto fan, and that's why I'm streaming them. And this is like weird. Like I think this news coming out of these remakes will probably get me a couple of extra views as I'm going through those games now. But the thing about that is, like, when Grand Theft Auto 5 released, that was supposed to be the case. Like there was a lot of talk around single player DLC coming out. There was planned DLC that got cut because online did so well, and then there was loads of rumors of, well, what if you went to the airport and all of a sudden you're in New Island and it's like Vice City or whatever. Like all of those things would have done super, super, super well, but online does better, and that's just the sad thing about it.
It's
So
all
I think what they're probably doing now is taking all their learning from the online, and when you think about it, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the online of GTA, but pretty much all of the content has been made for online at some point. So pretty much every car that's ever been in GTA is now in this. Every like vehicle, a lot of landmarks, these types of things. like they've made a lot of assets, and now I think it's just a case of like, right, let's just put San Andreas in the GTA 5 engine. Here's half of the assets, and just
We've
make the
already
rest.
got the IP built
Yeah.
and ready to go. Like.
Yeah.
Honestly, like the map's already set up for San Andreas. It's just like the main street is there. You know what I mean? Like they don't need. I know in the original it's split into like 4 islands, but they can just change the story to go around the exact same map that's in GTA 5.
They could do.
And they'd get away with it happy out, like, and people would lose their minds over it, like, you know.
And let's not forget number 4 as well, Nico. That was
The best one. That's the best
We
Grand
had
Theft
so
Auto.
much
I
fun
love
playing
4
that
as
now.
well. I'm
4
a big apologizer of 4.
4, I love 4. But man, when getting drunk in number 4 is still the best physics graphics.
Yeah.
Like the way he falls over. None of the other games.
Going for a drink with cousin.
I just thought the storyline on that one was so good. I just thought him coming over, the whole scene where he's on the boat and the music's playing and he's slowly coming into port, and it really just sets it up. And then the city is nice and gritty and dirty, and number 5 is nice and bright and sunny. And I know it's meant to be like the Hollywood, nearly, you know,
California.
yeah, you know, but
Different
I
vibes,
still preferred that New York sort of dingy kind of look, and back alleys and stuff like that.
Yeah, in that sense, you could compare, Grand Theft Auto 3 and sort of Vice City. Vice City was the kind of Scarface sort of flashy.
Half the missions were Scarface. Were out of
Yeah,
Scarface.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Big time. Like, sure, most of San Andreas was like Boys in the Hood and stuff like that. Like, you know, so it was like they all pulled from stuff. But I can only imagine the money that they will pump out by putting out those games with a new slap of paint or whatever, because I'm actually like always surprised those games hold up more than you remember. You know, the gameplay is so solid in those that even though they're a bit like funny to control by today's standards, it's still all there. But look, I'm sure they'll make plenty of money to, you know, sleep upon in their vast mansions of Scrooge McDuck levels of vaults of money. You know, it's going to be great. Moving on though, I do believe that Google is apparently trying to cover up some information, because it has leaked out in a document that at some point during Epic's mad scale takedown of the, how would you put it? I guess the financial gains of publishers versus developers. It seems as if Google were potentially going to step in at one point to buy out Epic in order to just cut this one off at the knees. But Shane, you probably know a little bit more than I do.
Yeah, so everybody knows that Epic's suing everyone left, right, and center. Apple, everybody. So they were.
We're all suing each other. It's great.
Everyone's suing each other.
I'm suing Minya.
I'm suing him too. We should compare
we should combine lawsuits to get more.
And I'm suing the guy that's combining the lawsuits.
Sorry, Shane.
Yeah, so who was I? Epic is who I was talking about. Epic has a lawsuit with Google because basically they wanted to sidestep the Play Store, same way they wanted to sidestep Apple's App Store, and not basically pay the egregious like 30 or 40% that has to go to them of the money they would that would normally go directly to Epic from Fortnite skins or axes or guns or whatever the hell it is they do be selling.
Yes.
And now it's leaked out. There was originally a redacted piece of the court documents has been unredacted. This is like some government level shit, you know.
Yeah.
And in it was saying that in order to just kind of squash the lawsuit or just make life easier for themselves, Google thought about buying some or all of Epic.
I'm sorry, this game's coming out in Gamescom next week, is it?
Yeah,
This
definitely.
This sounds
You
like
get to control the Epic.
This sounds like a management game I want to play.
This is actually the story of the new Ace Attorney.
Yeah. Ace Attorney
Objection.
Tycoon. Yeah, I like it.
But no,
But
it's,
yeah, so
it's
they were
all
just
nuts.
going to reach in the big bag with the dollar sign and be like, you know what, we're sick of listening to Epic. Let's just spend and 800 million quid it would cost to buy them, or whatever amount of money it costs just to shut them up.
But isn't it funny that the whole lawsuit? We won't spend much time on this because none of us here are financial experts or whatever. But isn't
Wait,
it
you're
funny?
not a financial expert? Hold on a second. What?
Oh crap! I forgot.
What kind of podcast is this?
Episode 50. What did I'm only finding out now that you're not a financial expert?
But I am
I've
still
been
fluent
had,
in
sir.
14 languages, I swear. But no, isn't it funny? Like this lawsuit came out of Epic saying, "Hey, you can't expect so much money from us for our games and our content or whatever," whilst meanwhile being a billionaire in their own right. And then creating a lawsuit where Google, in response, goes, "Let's just throw money at it. Let's just throw money at it. It's fine. We have so much money."
Yeah. The irony's not lost on me here.
Yeah. But billionaires will be billionaires. Hopefully, one of these days, either ALLCAST or CGC or something will have some kind of enough money where we'll start to worry about this type of thing.
Now, that's walking around money. That is, if you're going to buy out a company just to stop all the lawsuits, that means
Stop it. I'm out of pocket having those lights on in the background.
It reminds me of that like Simpsons episode where like, you know, Mr. Burns is wheeled into the court and stuff, and he's like, for like killing whatever or doing whatever, poisoning something, and it's like, it's a fine. Okay, cool. I'll take that statue of justice outside as well. And he just slaps all the money on the counter. People with that kind of money, the law just does not apply to them.
Money resolves all. But moving on, because those guys are still going to have money by the end of it regardless. It's not really a problem for us. It's more interesting. What is also interesting is Knuckles the Echidna confirmed for Sonic 2, and of course, who else could voice Knuckles the Echidna, the epitomal Echidna, than one Idris Elba?
Yeah,
Who else would you get?
I think it's a great cast. I can't think of anybody else, but I also can't picture him voicing him either.
Wasn't there
but I don't think it's
the
a bad
Rock
cast.
was going to do it for a while.
Oh man, the Rock has to stop doing things.
Yeah, the Rock's in there. But they're not in a
Idris
jungle.
Elba is like the new Rock, though. Like he's in everything now as well.
But I think he's such a good actor. You know, like he can do very serious. He can do action.
Versatile.
Yeah, but The Rock just plays The Rock in everything. Like The Rock doesn't play other characters. So even though I love The Rock and I love the movies he does,
I like what he does too. But you're right. Yeah, you are right.
Idris Elba does. He's an amazing actor. Absolutely amazing. I think it's a great cast, and I actually called this, not that he was going to voice it, but I called Knuckles would be in the second one, and I think a few people were like, "No, they won't do Knuckles. They're doing Tails next." And I predicted this. I did this, and I've done this twice on stream because I wanted recordings of it. I'm guessing, and this is months ago. I guessed. Nailing this down for good, because I think I win 50 quid if it comes out. I guessed that Robotnik's going to team up with Knuckles. He's going to try and manipulate him to try and get these emerald crystals, right?
I imagine you're right, yeah.
And whatever way Tails teleported into Sonic's world at the end of Sonic 1, he'll be able to teleport to the mushroom planet where Eggman is, or Dr. Robotnik. And Sonic and Tails are going to end up losing because of Knuckles. But then Knuckles is going to realize, kind of like similar to the hyenas at the end of Lion King, they're going to realize, hang on a second, I've been working for the bad guy all this time. He's been using me. And then he's going to turn on Robotnik, and that's how Robotnik's going to lose. And I don't think we're going to see Metal Sonic in this one, but we'll see him in the third one. That's my opinion.
That'll be the hint at the end.
I think we're going to see the big mech that Dr. Robotnik drives in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and I think we're going to see Metal Sonic in the third film.
I think it's all solid. Like realistically, I think I'm struggling to think of a game that wasn't a direct sequel where Knuckles was in the one previous, where they didn't do a thing of, what? Robotnik is a bad guy?
Yeah.
I've been such a fool, the Master Emerald.
I think we should invite the two boys back on after the release of the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 to break it down and see if you were correct. Yeah, and then you'll have proof of your guess. Yeah. And you'll have proof of whether you actually nailed it on the head.
In the third film, Sonic will go supersonic, but he won't do it in the second one. That's how he'll defeat Robotnik.
That's actually a good point. I wonder how long will they hold that cork?
No, I think he will. I think if they're going to bring Knuckles into it, then they're introducing the Chaos Emeralds. Yeah. And if they're introducing the Chaos Emeralds, you now have the possibility for Supersonic.
Your key
or at the very least, at the very end, for like a moment or something.
Yeah, they're introducing them. They're not using them.
His hair will go gold for like a second or something like that. Like sort of flash gold. And then it'll end there.
And then when Robotnik's in his big giant mech, and he's making all the memes that he made in the first film, and that's how he'll defeat the mech. He'll turn into supersonic and go straight through the middle of it. Yeah. Telling you, so I could have wrote it myself.
Do we think Knuckles is going to have like a very heavy hip hop vibe like he did back in like Sonic Adventure? Now that like Idris is playing it, and he's done stuff like that in the past where he's just like the gruff kind of like, you know, hip hop guy or whatever. Like if you cast back to like Sonic Adventure 2, where they had like those woefully bad rap songs playing in all of his levels, I'm just wondering, do we get any kind of like callback for some really bad like music?
Sort of what's a Snatch kind of, that sort of Cockney
Oh, you want to
Oh, come on, bruv.
Yeah, Ghost Chew Bone.
Tyrone.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, Ghost Chew
Sonic
Bone
3
like
by
butter.
way of Guy Ritchie, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
That's the.
I'd watch that Sonic.
Definitely, 100%. That Knuckles,
Yeah.
that's my Knuckles.
They should get Bricktop then to
Yeah,
voice
Bricktop.
to voice Knuckles. Put the kettle on Robotnik.
He'd be quite an interesting choice, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Give him to the pigs, Harold.
Yeah, Ghost Chew Bone like butter.
Bricktop as tiles.
Yeah.
Alright, Sonic.
Robotnik,
But,
put the kettle on.
But I look forward to seeing whether or not, Pezza, you're how close you were, and we are definitely going to have you back in order to confirm that.
I'm a
But
big
I
Sonic
think-
fan. Big Sonic fan, man. I love Sonic. Sonic's my favorite game of all time. And
Really, of all
yeah.
time.
Sonic 2, man. Like Sonic 1 was one of those games where I just couldn't finish because it was so hard and so difficult. And this is going back to like the early 90s. And then when I got Sonic 2, it was a little bit more playable and I could get to the last boss. And I just enjoyed it so much more. And then these cheat
And it was
codes.
sort of co-op because
Yeah,
the
you
person
could
could
play
play as
Tails
Tails, and you had unlimited lives.
Yeah.
Killing all the bosses was easy. You just had to get
Yeah.
Sonic to stand out of the way, and Tails
Yeah,
would be
dodge
cannon
everything.
fodder.
Yeah, I just
It
thought
was like the original little brother controller as well.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
100%.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nailed it,
100%. Yeah. Yeah, it still wasn't plugged in, but he thought he was playing.
Oh yeah, Look, give it to them. You've got carte blanche. You kill yourself as much as you want.
Yeah,
I love Sonic. When that first film came out, man, I was so excited. I was like,
Surprisingly good as well. Like
Yeah, it was
I that and Detective Pikachu, like that was a good year or so for video game adaptations, wasn't it? Like,
do you think the announcement with the bad-looking Sonic was PR stunt?
No, I think they just got
I
it wrong.
truly believe they got it wrong. Like, I think a lot of people worked a lot of crunch in order to rectify the horror that was that original Sonic.
My eyes! I love the memes. I love the like SpongeBob
I just
memes,
can't. I just can't imagine. You know, they went to the screening of the film. You know, we're going to put out the trailer next week. Let's just see how the test audience likes it. And not one person went, "That's wrong."
What's up with his face?
Yeah. What's wrong with Sonic?
Well,
Is
that's
he having
the
a
difference
stroke?
you see is like you put it out in front of like a test audience, and it's probably like 10 guys pulled off the street for like $5 to come in and watch a movie, and they don't know Sonic. They don't care. It's like, oh yeah, it's fine. It's fun. Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
And then like that tested well, awesome. And then like you put it out on Reddit, and it's like people who know Sonic now looked at him and went, what the hell is that?
100%. Yeah, because that was grotesque.
It was actually, now I hadn't thought about that in quite a while, and I won't sleep tonight. Thank you, Peter.
I might insert an image of it when I'm doing the editing of the video version of this.
Please do.
I'm just going to insert
right here.
a big
Move
giant
them around
image
with
of
my
the
finger.
really really
loads of
awful
them.
Sonic.
2 million of them.
Put it down here.
To the tune of "Never Gonna Give You Up."
Giving Shane more work. Anyway, moving on. I think we have time for one more news story maybe before we go into the question of the week. And that I think will be one that's going to be up Minions Alley. It seems as if we have confirmation on who might be leading the Dead Space remake.
Yeah, that's right. Well, director-wise, it's going to be the same director as Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and that was a very well put together game, very well received game. I never got a chance to finish it because I just don't have enough hours in the day.
It's too
But
damn
it's
long.
massive, and there's so much DLC coming out now. It is one that I have a pin in. I'm going to get back to, but I was really excited when I heard this because
You had more hours in that game, and I said, "Have you been to Isengard yet?" And he's like, "Isengard?"
Oh no,
That's not real.
Valhalla or something, wasn't it?
No, no, it's not Valhalla. It's like the place all the gods hang out, and it's like
I think it was Valhalla, all right.
it Valhalla? Okay, so they're all
I
in
think so.
Valhalla.
Yeah, I got to just the mission before where you have to get the...
Because you had
missions
more of
to
the
get
country
going.
unlocked than I did.
Oh yeah, I was doing everything else but the main mission, so...
That's the
Yeah,
problem
I
with
really-
those games.
I just try to get as much enjoyment out of Assassin's Creed games as possible. Black Flag being one of my other favourite
Man,
games.
if you go down that route, like Black Flag was the one that turned me off doing that, because like I loved Black Flag a lot, and then going to every single island and getting every single thing on the map, getting off the boat, getting on the boat, going around, like I must have spent like 7 or 8 nights just doing that stuff, and I still wasn't half the way through the map, and I kind of went like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah. Valhalla's a lot like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
a lot
definitely.
to find.
It's a value game though. Can you imagine having a game like that when you were like 5 and you only got like one game a year?
Yeah, the playability of it is something else.
I haven't even played. We have the DLC to Ireland. Haven't even played it yet. DLC for Paris came out this week. Haven't even played it yet.
I literally only bought it because I knew Ireland was coming, and I played an awful lot of that first game. We interviewed a fella that did one of the kind of fan trailers for the Irish DLC and everything, going, yes, I'm 100% going to play this. It's just I haven't got the time. There's just it's asking too much of me, you know.
It is. It's a big ask, but it is something we're going to get back to 100%.
But do we think Dead Space is going to be a big ask?
I don't even have a PS5.
Who does?
I'm going to actually go out and have to get a next gen console just to play the Dead Space remaster. But it's actually a game that I would do that for.
Yeah,
and I'll probably hold out doing it until then.
I'm holding out for Arkham Knights.
Yeah. And
what happens if the Dead Space remake comes out and it's a 500-hour open world Assassin's Creed Valhalla Dead Space collected?
I'd be in my element. I'd be like, hey, I'm quitting my job tomorrow.
Yeah. We've introduced parkour.
Yeah. Now you can climb 70 towers. Unlock the map.
Isaac can now do capoeira and just breakdance fighting these necromorph limbs off.
The Eddie Gordo of Alien.
Yeah, I think after reading that headline there, I'm actually a bit worried about the game. Assassin's Creed director just doesn't sit right with a Dead Space game.
But the director, it has nothing to do with the gameplay as such. It's the story and how things are kind of shot with the motion capture.
I think in the case of this, if I understand it correctly, it's always different in studio by studio. But when you're talking a game director, can sometimes mean the same as a movie director, but a lot of times what it means is kind of it's almost hand in hand with project management. It's kind of keeping the vision on track, and making those decisions of what gets cut, what gets kept, what do we fight for, that kind of stuff.
And if I'm making
so you're probably right. There's probably a lot of people directing it in other ways,
Yeah, well, if he's used to Assassin's Creed games, then nothing's getting cut from Dead Space. Because those games are
wait, what more can we squeeze in?
But extra stuff. Here's
can
a
we
whole
get a dog at some
guys,
stage? People seem to like that.
Have we thought about collectibles?
No. I don't want to read anything.
Cutting off limbs and putting them in a pocket somewhere.
Yeah, I don't want to read anything, and I don't want to collect random.
Come on, the audio logs are some of the best things.
The audio logs are fine. It's the letters.
Yeah.
That's something in games I hate, especially say Fallout 4.
Mm-hmm.
You find letters and books, and I know people that'll sit there and read them.
Yeah,
I won't. I'd be like, right, what can I sell that for in the shop? That's what I pick up.
Fascinating, that aspect of game development, especially with Bethesda. Is fascinating to me because some games do it really well. As I said, playing a little bit of Last of Us 2 again, and some of the things you pick up in that are quite heart-wrenchingly written, and they're every note is painstakingly, designed so that it actually is all handwritten and stuff. They're not just copy paste the template or whatever. But then you go to something like Oblivion or Skyrim or whatever, and it's impressive that they put so much time into writing reams and reams and reams of books.
Oh, they've created a whole
but half of it is just nonsense, and some of it's good, but a lot of it's not. And it's kind of how many hours did people spend on this, and how many people actually read them?
Did you ever watch? I know again we're getting off topic, but look, it seems to be the way things are going.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Man.
Did you ever watch? You should check it out on YouTube. It's very, very funny. But it's in Skyrim Oblivion, and you go and talk to a certain NPC, and she says halfway through her line, she says, "Oh, sorry, let me do that again. Let's do a second take."
Oh, really?
Let's do a second take.
It was kept in.
It was obviously kept in by mistake.
So I think I can do that better. Okay, start.
We'll pick it up in post.
Yeah. Yeah, she said something like that. It's brilliant.
That's gas. I must look out for that. But we'll see. Dead Space, I'm sure, is in good hands. We'll hope for the best. Let's all be cautiously optimistic.
Is it still in EA's hands? Yes. No, I'm not so optimistic anymore.
What microtransactions is it going to have?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's it. Because last point, and then we'll move on. For a game series that was killed by microtransactions, they brought in somebody from Ubisoft to try and steer it back into
Ubisoft,
they can be just as bad.
They're woeful. They're woeful.
Really
you look
bad.
at any Assassin's Creed game, it's pay us 20 quid and the game will be over quicker. That's literally a thing you can do. It's nuts. It's nuts. But anyway, let's not dwell. Moving swiftly on, we are going to do our question of the week, where we ask our community to give us a question to bring into this podcast. It could be gaming related, it could be anything. In fact, a lot of times I like to ask Shane a random one. Because you guys are here, he's getting off the hook this week. But we do have one from the community, and we'll get to that right now. I almost forgot. Play that thing.
Question of the week.
Now, this week's question of the week comes from a friend of the show, Kerry, where Kerry asked in the Facebook group, I should mention, what's the first game you remember rage quitting? Now, to anybody who doesn't understand the concept of rage quitting, it is quite simply you are playing a video game, and it could be any form of media really, and it just frustrates you to no end. Maybe you're dying an awful lot. Maybe you're just not picking up the mechanics. Whatever it is, you've gotten to the point of frustration that you're just wanting to throw that controller through the TV. For the love of God, get it away from me. And you just walk away. You know? What was the first thing that made you do that? Shane, I'm going to go to you first.
When I read this question, the first thing that sprung to mind was I was a Sega kid. So, you know, Streets of Rage, Sonic, that kind of thing.
Sure.
And I think probably Streets of Rage is probably the one I remember rage quit.
Streets
you know,
of Rage quit.
Streets of Rage quit. Yes, exactly. The lesser known sequel to Streets of Rage.
But the more popular one.
But you know, we've all been there. Anyone who was a Sega kid, you're playing Streets of Rage. You've like very little health left. You've used up your like, you know, you call in the police guy to drop a nuke or whatever. You've used all that up, and then like a boss appears out of the sliding garage door, and you're like, ah no, and then you die, and then you're all the way back, and you're going picking up turkeys again, and you get to the same bot, and it's just that was my first. I think that's as a kid how I learned what rage quitting was. I didn't even probably know what it was called. I just knew that it's like if I don't turn off this game, I'm going to break the Sega in half.
Yes. It's isn't it funny how you picked that game when I just got these added to the wall this week?
You're taunting me. You knew. You could tell it was Streets of Rage.
But no, for sure. Like any beat 'em up like that, it's killer. Like, you know, especially any ones that like Streets of Rage probably wasn't the worst, but it definitely had like some very, very awkward bosses that like if you didn't save up those nukes or whatever, you were going to have a bad time.
Yeah, definitely for sure. So that's my pick is definitely that. And it was interesting because one of the lads there mentioned the first Sonic a while ago, and then I started thinking about that as well because that is a hard game.
That is a hard game. I remember.
It's harder than the second one for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
The first game had the second level. You know, you'd start off up the top, and then you go down into the mines type thing, and there was lava and.
I think
bats.
the water.
The water levels were always a nightmare.
Oh,
in
no.
any game, the
Fear
water levels.
inducing.
Yeah.
Wap,
Yeah. That music. I'd rage quit over that music. Yeah.
I actually think it's not going to be my answer, but I do think I did rage quit at some point in Sonic 1 or 2 when do you know when you're like standing where the bubbles come up and there's not like an exact timing to those bubbles, they just seem to come up whenever they feel like it, and you're just standing there going din, 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 and it just doesn't come.
You have to duck
No.
down. You have to duck down.
Yeah, that's so
What,
weird.
really?
You duck down, it makes the bubbles
Come
turn
up.
up, and then it comes up. That's why.
25 years later.
Mind blown.
25 years and thousands of dollars of therapy later, two boys have sorted it all out.
And that's what ALLCAST is all about, my friends. Speaking of which, Petzo, what about you, my man?
I don't really rage. Have I ever rage quit in front of you? I don't think I have, because I don't. As I said to you earlier on, I play very boring games that, you know what I mean, unless my town is being attacked and and I didn't get enough, you know, water supplied to put the fire out.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now. I can't really remember you.
I don't think I really rage quit with games. I did get fed up with games.
You did when you were playing Dead Space that one time, and you were looking at the air vent, and then it turned out the thing jumped at you from the elevator, and you just dropped threw the controller on the couch, and you're like, done.
Yeah.
So that's the cause of
I don't play horror games, but like sometimes our chat makes me play horror games. But Minion plays the horror games, but I'll always play the tutorial missions, and then I'll hand the controller over to him when it starts to get
And then get the cushion and sit there. Like,
well, that's funny you say cushion, because I have my cushion here.
Yeah, he'd literally
have my cushion.
He'd have a cushion like that. Like, oh, there's a bit coming up.
It's a lovely orange fluffy cushion for any of our audio listeners.
Yeah.
So watch us on YouTube to really.
It's a
get the
manly
experience.
shield.
It's a manly shield, and during Resident Evil 7.
Oh yeah,
this was the cushion of choice. But yeah, that's me.
And that other game we played. Remember the one up in Rogers where it was like you're playing. Like,
what was the game? It was a horror game, but you played all the different characters. It was just like a movie. and you just decide all
Until
their-
Dawn.
Until Dawn. We played
that's
that for
what-
like a Halloween stream, and that was really
That was another one where my pets are like on the couch.
we did something really fun with that game as well. Is there was 3 of us playing it, and we all took a character each. Now I think 1 or 2 of us had 2 characters, but when that character was in charge, you decided all the decisions. So the other guys couldn't tell you.
Influence it at all.
And others. So then when we got to the end, it was like it was a. I don't know. It was just completely different to how I would have played it on my own, or you know what I mean.
Completely.
It was really fun. I
They
think
actually added that feature in later games. I think is to make it easier for that to happen.
Nice. Yeah, because that was the best part of that game. With the banter we had with why did you pick that one?
Oh man, I streamed it as well, and it's like anytime I stream today, like people still bring it up. Like it's like kill Emily, save Emily was a massive thing because that chick that's like a bit bitchy or whatever. Like there was the chat was just torn on whether or not we should keep her, and every single decision I gave to the chat. You see, so like I'd wait for 5 minutes if I had to. I was like, we're not going anywhere, guys, till you give me a vote. Like, and then it got really intense. But good choices. What about you, Minnie?
When I first got given the topic, I immediately thought of a game that I played to death and just dropped me. How did you know?
Yeah, Rocket
Knight. Drove me mad, that game. Really,
what was
really
it?
did.
Rocket Knight Adventures. You played.
Another
Sega.
Sega classic.
Yeah. You play little possum in a. Was it a possum?
Yeah, you're a possum in a set of armor, armor,
with
and
a
you have
rocket.
a rocket pack. And some of the levels were
classic.
so annoying. Like it was very similar to Sonic in that way. You're going through the level, you're jumping, you're trying to get over stuff, collect things to get extra lives and stuff.
So good.
But it was such a good game. But certain parts of it were just such a nightmare. And then the real kicker then as well, when you finally do finish this game, it tells you at the end, it goes, "Oh, well done, you have completed the game, but you haven't saved the princess yet because now you must finish it on hard mode." Done. No. Yes.
You what?
I just finished it on normal
And
mode.
she will never be saved.
Yeah.
It's a screw that bitch.
Well, can't say I didn't try.
Yeah.
So telling me to finish it on hard mode was a deal breaker. And I don't think I ever had the cojones to finish
That was
it
a
on
great game, and we played.
It was a very good game, but not good.
Oh,
enough
it's amazing. It's
play on
amazing.
hard.
It's probably like one of the top 10 games on the Mega Drive for sure.
Yeah.
Like.
Easy.
Yeah. I guess for myself to round it all up, Shane, I'm gonna 1-2 combo you here with like another Sega game that's also on my wall. Mega Man, the first Mega Man game, was the very first game I can remember loving and hating in equal measure.
Yeah.
And to this day, 25 odd years later from the first time I ever played it, I still rage quit with that first Mega Man game. I love the games like to no end, but I'm not great at them. Like I never have been, but I'll get through them. That first game, man, is so unforgiving.
I just remember the game. Sorry, go ahead. I just remember the rage quit game. Holy crap! Something just went. It was like a lost. It was like a lost memory just clicked in. Do you remember the 2D Terminator game? And after every mission, you had to drive around on the bike, and it was like you were top down.
I think so.
You started off
You
started off
is
at
that on the old?
I'm nearly sure it was
NES?
Mega Drive. I think it was.
Oh, I think that could. No, I think that could have been on like Commodore,
or something like that. You started off at the truck stop, and you just killed all the bikers, and then it goes to like this top down view, and you're driving the bike, but it was impossible to turn corners. You had to time it as it got to like the crossroad, and then go left or right. So it was like a tank turning. And then you went to Sarah Connor's house, and you could do the whole house without setting the alarm off, and that meant the T-1000 didn't show up.
Yeah.
But if you set the house alarm off, he showed up, and
Right.
you had to find something that put you towards it was the mall.
Oh my god! Was there a part in that where the truck is chasing you
Yeah.
down? I do remember that game.
So man, oh my god, I wanted to break anything so much my whole life. After you do the level in the mall, you have to go to Mexico, but because of the way it drives, you don't know where the hell to go. It doesn't really tell. You could be, but it's also timed. And if the timer runs out, it's right back to the garage, right to the biker bar again. And we used to play it over and over again because it was gory. It was it was kind of like the RoboCop game back in the day.
Sure.
I do remember. We're in the asylum as well, and I don't even
think I got to the asylum because I couldn't find that where you have to go to Mexico to get the guns. Then you go to the big building where they had the metal arm hit and all that stuff.
These were the things that sold the old, because back in the day you didn't just have a video game. You had a video game release and you have a guide release, and you have to make sure there's a part in the game that's just impossible to figure out unless you do it like a million times.
To this day, I don't know where to go with that bike. I actually want to get an emulator now. I think I blocked that out. I think I mentally blocked that game out. And I just remembered it. I want to play that on an emulator and see if I can finish it.
Yeah,
coming to a stream near you.
Or at least watch someone else do it. Let's just
we'll just watch someone else do it.
Jesus.
YouTube is your friend.
I'm going to watch that tonight. Man, that game. Holy crap, that game was so tough.
But yeah, see, games were a different breed back then. Like your Mega Man, like your Rocket Knight Adventures, all these games. The main problem with them was if you messed up, it's not holding your hand. You're not just going to start off 5 minutes back or 10 minutes back. You're back to beginning now. Yeah. So there was a bit of pressure on to not mess up.
I think that's the big key part to it, isn't it? Like, because realistically, like everything we picked was pretty much from like the late 80s to the mid 90s, where games were just damn hard, do you know? And that, like nowadays, like in Assassin's Creed, you fail a mission, you're back like a minute, maybe.
Yeah. Exactly. But I think rage quitting now is more a multiplayer online thing. You know, like when you're
someone's teabagging you furiously after you've just been killed 10 times in a row. Like,
it goes to show that we're not like Call of Duty players or whatever.
Exactly.
Hey, give me Streets of Rage or one of those games any day, a Golden Axe or something. They are classics.
They still hold up as well. Some of them games are unbelievably fun and great to play. And it's Minion tipped off it earlier on about Twisted Metal. We used to play Twisted Metal all the time. When we went, we were like, we should get an emulator, or maybe we should get a copy of it and play it. And I said, okay, we'll do it. And we found a copy, tried to play it, and we were like, what is this? What is this? This is not how I remember this game at all. Like, the graphics were so bad, and I was like, I remember this being like beautiful. I remember like, let's go play that cool car game.
And the background, it really looked like a suburban area, and it's just like 2D houses and all.
Yeah. Like, it was the first step, you know what I mean? It's like, the jump to 3D was a rough jump. Do you know what I mean? But we got there. Like, you know, for sure. But there we have it, folks. In terms of Rage Quit, we got Mega Man, we've got Streets of Rage, we have Terminator, and Minion, yours was again?
Rocket Knight Adventures.
How could I forget? The classic. But there we have it, folks. If you want to get in on the question asking action, you can do so in a number of ways. You can get onto us in our socials, which is down below, but we generally pick our questions of the week from the Casual Game Community, which is a standalone Facebook group over on Facebook, and also in our Discord. You can find a link to that in the description below. But I think, guys, it's probably about time that we smack this guy on the ass and send it on home. If you wouldn't do me a quick favor, lads, can you tell the lovely folks at home that may be watching, that might be listening, how they might find you?
Well, you'll definitely find me on Twitch, all our social medias, of course, but mainly on Twitch, as I'll be playing Dead Space there. I also do remote duels on it as well. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,
all the social medias. And then if you want to check out our own shows, they're on YouTube every Wednesday at 8:30. So we've got Geeky This Weeky, which is our Geeks for Weeks, where we get geeky every weeky to find out how many movies and TV shows we want to check out and stuff like that. And then we've got Herds of Nerds, which is a debate show that we're hoping to bring to events next year, and which is where we pick the hardest questions in gaming, like what's the worst microtransaction, what's the best Final Fantasy game, what's the best horror franchise in gaming, and we find the exact answer, and that's the right answer forever once we come to that conclusion.
It gets
no
locked
takebacks.
into the gaming vault.
Yeah, into the gaming vault, and it stays there. So yes, that's what we do. We do shows every week, every Wednesday, and then Minion streams on Twitch as well, and then we're on every social. You can find us anywhere. ALLCAST Irish Gamers.
Yeah, so that's the general tagline. It'll be all in the description below, of course, but ALLCAST Irish Gamers is kind of what people should search for.
Yeah, 100%.
And our OnlyFans is coming very soon.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. It's in pre-production.
I've seen some of the photos, folks. They're pretty saucy. But anyway, moving swiftly on from that, if you have never been here before, welcome. You did stumble across what was by far the most casual podcast on the interwebs, a casual gamecast, if you will. And if you have been here before, Thanks again for all of your support. If you want to keep supporting us, we would love you for it endlessly. You can do so in a number of ways at Casual Game Co. on all of the socials. You can find us on Twitch. You can find us pretty much everywhere. And of course, all of the details to both our socials and the lads' socials will be down in the description here, both on YouTube or whatever podcatcher you happen to find us on. If you could do us one quick favor, which costs nothing, if you could give the podcast a like, tell a friend, share, do whatever, just put it out there. I'm just putting it out there, just asking, just nicely, maybe you just want to share it with somebody, please do so. And lads, we have a kind of a tradition around here where we ask people not only to tell a friend about the podcast, but also to potentially tell somebody who has a role in the community that could potentially help get our podcast out there. We in the past we've said tell a friend, tell a butcher, tell a friend, tell a postman. What would be your suggestion?
Hook it up to your 3G vaccine or 5G vaccine, and then
you got the 3G vaccine.
I got the 3G vaccine.
You get the old model, man.
Just link it to everybody that way. Yeah.
And I say tell a stranger, but you have to tell them like the merchant from Resident Evil 4.
Oh yeah.
Hello, stranger.
Yeah.
What are you watching?
yeah. What are you listening?
What are you listening?
Yeah. There you go.
So do it like that, just like the merchant.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So tell a merchant and tell a recently vaccinated friend.
Yes.
But that has been it. I've been Phil.
I've been Shane.
And we've had the two lads.
Pets Minion, ALLCAST Irish Gamers. Great show, guys.
And thanks a million for joining us, ALLCAST, and hopefully we'll see each other again very soon.
Very soon.
But with that, let's take it on home. Take care, stay safe, and most of all, stay casual.
Bye.
Bye. Slime.